Hey everybody, my name's Andy McNabb
and I'm Mark Wybrow,
and together we're bringing you a brand new program called the Electronic Café. Let's get started. So welcome to Volume 1 of the Electronic Café. What is the Electronic Café, I hear you say? So me and my good buddy Mark here, we're massive music fans, have a real passion for it, but we also just want to share it out with people around the world, and we just feel that most of the great music that's being made doesn't get the airtime it deserves. So we want to make a difference if we can. So we're going to be looking at some of the cool stuff we're listening to right now. We want to focus on a legend or a legend's bands that have made a big difference to the music, and just give you guys an idea of what you could be listening to instead of most of the crap that's been put out on the radio. So that's why we're doing it.
I don't know if we're qualified to do it, but we've known each other for all our lives.
Yep.
And we've been in bands together, we've written, recorded, we've played gigs together. We've got a massive passion for music, electronic music, so we just really want to share with you guys what we're listening to, good or bad, and hopefully you can share some stuff with us, and we can start a little bit of a community.
Yeah, well put, mate. I totally agree with Mark. He just said it's about the sharing and just getting that music out to people. That's what this is the whole purpose of this channel. So we're going to start very shortly looking at some of the cool stuff we're listening to, so stay tuned. So one of the key sectors of our program is that we're going to focus on a legend or legends that really helped shape the electronic music scene, and there's one band that is absolutely pivotal to all this that if you've never heard them, which I find amazing if you haven't, is a must-have in your album collection, and that band is the incredible Kraftwerk.
Obviously Kraftwerk is a much bigger issue than just Kraftwerk. There was the whole German music scene in the 70s and certainly the 80s. You had bands like Neu, Cluster, Can, Tangerine Dream. There was numerous members of all these bands that appeared in other bands. There was a massive cross-fertilisation, but probably the biggest and the most famous one is Kraftwerk.
Yeah, without doubt.
So Kraftwerk are still going. They started in 1970 and to date they've had about 20 members, and the four core members, the main four members who appeared on all of their main albums were Karl Bartos,
Florian Schneider, Ralf Hütter and Wolfgang Flür. So they were kind of referred to as the electronic Fab Four.
So during their entire time, all of their albums were recorded within a 12-year period, their main albums, and those four were instrumental in all of those albums. They're still touring now, they're still a live entity now, they're a massive draw. Andy's seen them live recently, but there's only one member of the original Kraftwerk in that lineup these days.
Yeah, that's true, and I remember seeing them, I was fortunate to see them at the Sonar Festival in Barcelona about 5 years ago with some clients. And it was quite interesting actually, because obviously most of the people in the audience were far younger than me, and one of the guys said, "I love this song, Andy, it's Computer World." I said, "Oh yeah, it's kind of quite, what's the word, almost future gazing." I said, because it's talking about the connection of computers and the internet. And the guy went, yeah, I get it, it's fantastic. I said, so when do you think that song was made? And he went, I don't know, 2005. And I said, try 1980. The guys were absolute visionaries from a lot of stuff they did. And as Mark kind of alluded, I remember hearing Kraftwerk when I was about 12 years old, and got my dad's Triumph Dolomite, and I could hear this amazing sound, the fan, or was it Autobahn? I thought, what is this? It's hypnotic. The synthesizer sounds amazing. I didn't know it was called a synth thing. I just thought this was an amazing sound, and I was hooked from that very minute. And that's kind of been a passion of mine ever since. So Kraftwerk, I think most bands owe them a hell of a lot. And back to Mark's point, I think their core album output was from 74, and I think you said earlier, mate, is it
74 to 86?
They made 5 albums?
Yeah.
5 of the core albums. So, the core albums for us are going to be like Autobahn, Trans-Europe Express, Radioactivity, Man Machine, Computer World, and
Electric Café.
Electric Café, yeah. But you talk to anyone that's formed bands especially in the early 80s, like OMD, Human League, Heaven 17, Depeche Mode, all those bands will absolutely say the reason we put a band together is because we saw Kraftwerk live and said this is the future of music. And for me it still is, and I think the same for Mark. We still love that sound. Analog synthesizers are making a full circle return to be really popular. The only problem is they're far more expensive to buy nowadays because they've become antiques. But we owe them a hell of a lot. Not just those electronic bands, but even even the hip hop stuff, electro house music has all kind of stemmed from the roots of Kraftwerk. If you look back on YouTube, you'll eventually find some videos of these young black kids in New York, spinning their heads doing breakdancing, and sorts of things like Trans Europe Express. And this is music that was created by 4 German guys that were wearing shirts and ties that looked like they should be working in a bank, let alone performing, groundbreaking music. So, for us, absolute legends that we had to put in first for our first show is Kraftwerk. I think Mark's favourite album, I'll let him say, mine is without doubt Computer World, because it was made in 1980. These guys saw the vision of computers, technology, and the whole internet that we love now then. So, and some great tracks. I mean, probably my favourite track is Numbers, because it's just so simple, but the drum beat would go down now in any nightclub. So yeah, for me, absolutely brilliant.
For me, it's the Man Machine. As boring as it is, I love the Model, which was, I think, the B-side at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Which has got the most amazing bass line and drum pattern as well. But just going back to Kraftwerk and the mythology around them, it's difficult to work out whether they really are eccentric and elusive and private people, or they've noticed that the mythology around them makes them more appealing, and they played up to that mythology. I don't know what the correct answer is. They recorded all of their albums in their own studio in Düsseldorf called Kling Klang Studios, which, so the myth says, had no telephone, there was no fax line, there was no telex line, there was no contact for them. So they were just doing their own thing, and at the end of the session they just produced this album, and they was very isolated. They just did their own thing. Now I don't know whether that's true, but certainly they were all recorded in Kling Klang Studios, and they just did their own thing. And this was at a time before computers, before MIDI, before quantization, before all the things now that makes electronic music so easy to sync everything up, to get everything in time, to play these sequences. They played it all manually, sometimes on instruments that they made or modified themselves. So at the height of punk rock in the 70s, when in the UK punk was happening and glam had just finished, and Kraftwerk were doing their own electronic stuff totally in isolation in Germany, and it's still relevant today, where you can look at all other genres of music, certainly punk rock. It came, it went, and there's not much quality punk about, but Kraftwerk has stood the test of time.
Totally. I totally agree with that. And if you want to add some coolness to your collection, yeah, you could go out and buy all the albums. I think for me personally, the best thing, or the best kind of all-round vibe you could get from this band is to get this. So I was fortunate enough to get this from a record store recently, slip discs in Billericay. But you can buy this on eBay. But this is fundamentally pretty much every album that's been remixed, given a sort of spring clean in terms of some of the sounds. It's all in 3D, so it sounds incredible in vinyl on a decent hi-fi. But it's definitely one to add to your collection. So our first legends for our show is definitely Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk, we salute you.
So Kraftwerk did, I think, 10 albums, start to finish. The first 3 albums were just Ralf, Hütter and Schneider, and they were very experimental. They were like prototypes before Kraftwerk became the Kraftwerk that everybody
We've had flutes, I think.
it was just 2 of them. They were experimental. They were not really songs. There was, Andy said, there were flutes in there, and they were just finding their feet. So that was 70 through to 73, and then the first real electronic album that came out was Autobahn in 74. So it went Autobahn, Radioactivity, Trans-Europe Express, Man Machine, Computer World, Electric Café.
There was a big gap till 2003.
And in 2003 they did the Tour de France soundtrack, which wasn't, I don't believe, supposed to be an album. It was going to be a soundtrack to the Tour de France, but it was never used, so it was released as an album. So since 2003 they haven't released anything new. They've released The Mix, which was a remix album of their songs, which was good, but it was just a remix album of their songs. And a 3D catalogue and the live thing. So they're still a live band, but you really need to check out their back catalogue, because if you like electronic music and you want to absorb yourself into the very beginnings of it, Kraftwerk is where you start.
100%. And if you want to catch them live, they are headlining at Victoria Park in East London, I think May 29, if you guys happen to see this film before then, so get yourselves down there. That'll be the night to remember. It is in 3D as well, so, and I think it's their only UK date, so they don't tour as often as they used to, but definitely catch them if you can. As I said, for me personally, if you want to get some Kraftwerk in your collection, get the 3D box set if you can. If not, get the albums that Mark spoke about. For me personally, it's Computer World. I think Mark's is Man Machine. Is that right, mate?
That's Man Machine. And what we will do, we will put in this video, we'll go through the albums and we'll have little sound clips from each of the albums, just so you can see the progression, and you can have a little taster for each of the Kraftwerk albums.
Like little bullet sounds of just some of the cool tracks. So yeah, definitely get some Kraftwerk into your life, guys, and then we'll bring you a legend in the next show. Thanks.
Electric Café.
So just to add to the legend piece, my good buddy Mark here mentioned about Kraftwerk being obviously German and not getting much traction originally. The reason most of us all know that band is pretty much down to one guy. That guy is Rusty Egan, if you don't know him. We'll be featuring him at some point in the show. He's a good friend of Mark and mine. I think because all three of us have got a massive similar sort of passion for the same music. Rusty was the drummer in a band called Visage. You all know the track Fade to Grey. Again, when I talk to people, they go, don't know it. As soon as you play it, they go, oh, I know that. So Rusty was trying to bring loads of good music to the UK. He heard Kraftwerk. He's obviously became a DJ at a famous nightclub called The Blitz, which was hosted by Steve Strange, who some of you may know as a singer in Visage. But Rusty had a massive energy, and saying Mark and I have met him several times, he still has. So just bringing great music. He's kind of hell bent on finding the next Depeche Mode. So he's going to become a contributor to the show. Thank you, Rusty. He's a legend. We'll get him on at some point and come and share the sofa at the Electronic Café. And he's going to give you a quick vox pop. He's kindly sent to both Mark and I to talk to you about his favourite 3 Kraftwerk tracks, and then who he's listening to right now that he's loving, and hopefully he'll become a regular contributor to the show. Again, big thank you, Rusty. And at some point Mark and I will talk about some exciting news that Visage are going on a tour, so we'll tell you more about that next time, so stay tuned.
But also, Andy,
sorry mate.
I think Rusty has actually met members of Kraftwerk.
Yes, he has. Yeah, I know.
And I think he's spoken, lectured about Kraftwerk, so he's a lot more qualified than us.
Yeah. We just happen to know him, but we've got a similar passion. But you're right, he knows him personally.
But yeah, I mean, Rusty will chip in and give us his 3 tips on Kraftwerk. But it'd be really interesting to hear what he has to say about them.
Totally. And one of the things we're going to add to some of the new music stuff is a Rusty recommends. So yeah, this guy is listening out for new stuff like Mark and I. Big consumer music like us both, as I said, and we'll be adding into the show to tell you what you guys should be listening out for.
I'm Rusty Egan. This is Kraftwerk Radio Activity, one of my favourite electronic albums of all time.
So this is the hot stuff section, and we kind of want to give you an idea of some of the cool stuff we've listened to maybe over the last year, favourite album of the last year, and then a couple of albums we're listening to currently that you absolutely must be listening to because we think they're brilliant. The first one is album of the year. It's a band called Salt, spelled SAULT, and Bandcamp voted it their number 2 album of the year. I kind of put it up there as number 1 along with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds with Ghosting, which I know isn't a very electronic album but just amazing. But this is that one there, and it's got just the little 5 written like that. Amazing album. It's quite strange actually. It's like Motown, it's got some funk in it, but it's got a bit of synth in it, and it just works, and it sounds amazingly original, but you can hear some of the connections from the 60s, 70s and modern stuff. It's absolutely, for me, amazing, and actually everyone I've recommended to has said thanks. It's brilliant, which is one of the reasons we're doing this show. So album of the year last year for me was this. Current 2 favourite albums, one from Germany, is under the label of the Detox Twins, which is that one there. I don't know if you can see that, and it's called Dead Horse Ghost, and it's really cool actually, because if you go on to Discogs, the artist, the composer, a guy called Mark Walderhaus, did 500 copies, obviously based in Germany, but, and sent us a personalised message on it, which is really cool. You can see it there, but Electronic Sound Magazine are already saying, is this a potential album of the year already? So kind of a dark early Depeche Mode vibe to it, but definitely worth listening to. And the other one, which I haven't even opened yet because it only arrived today, but I've been listening to it on my iTunes fervently because it's a brilliant album from a band from San Francisco called Cold Beat. Don't let the name put you off, it's anything but cold. Absolutely brilliant sound, kind of Early Simple Minds meets OMD meets Human League. Absolutely brilliant, and definitely one to put on your MP3 player or put on your vinyl collection. So they're the 3, so I say, album of the year, Salt, an album called 5, and then 2 current favourite albums, the Detox Twins, which is Dead Horse Ghost, and Cold Beat. San Francisco band stayed with an album called Mother. Absolutely brilliant. So check them out, let me know what you think.
Okay, for me, I've just got 2 albums that I've been listening to endlessly. The first one, seeing as we're talking German, is this album by Wolfgang Reichmann. Is an album called Wunderbar that came out in 1978.
Wow.
He was in the Krautrock scene. He was in a lot of these German bands. He was at school with members of Kraftwerk, and he released this album in 1978, which is totally electronic. Sadly, he was murdered 3 weeks before the album was released, so who knows where he would have gone with this. But if you listen to it, it sounds like early Kraftwerk, early Ultravox, Mark 1,
or John Fox era, and you can hear bands have been influenced by this. And if you look at the look he's got here, it's very Gary Newman
Berserker.
Yeah,
Gary Newman Berserker.
Yeah.
Whether he did or didn't, but he stole this look totally with the blue hair and the white face and the shirt and tie. So
totally,
this album by Wolfgang Reichmann is worth checking out. I got this one off of Discogs, but it was re-released, but it's on CD as well, so it's well worth checking out.
Have a look. Thank you, mate. That's cool. Yeah, definitely Berserker, Gary Newman, Mr. Newman. Check it out.
And my second one is a new band. They've been going from 2006, I believe. It's a band called She Passed Away, who are a Turkish electronic new wave gothic sounding band. Really, really great sound. They're a 2-piece. They've had 3 albums so far. The albums have progressed and got more and more polished, but this album is called Disco Anxiette. It's totally in Turkish, so I don't know what they're singing about, but he sounds like Andrew Eldridge from Sisters of Mercy. It's a really great sound, so this is what I'm listening to, and check it out. We'll put some sound bites on for all of these albums, but this is worth checking out.
Great. So, got new tunes, got old tunes, got some legends, got some classics, got albums of the year that we think and stuff we listen to currently. We hope you like it. Let us know what you think of some of the stuff we recommend. If we're on point, brilliant, we'll just keep doing more of it. And we look forward to seeing you on volume 2 of the Electronic Café. Take care and enjoy the music.
If you like it, subscribe. Speak to you soon.
Don't forget to press that subscribe button. Cheers guys.
Bye.